Alright, here's 3.4 video, and this time we're talking about point and slope form. Okay, totally different. I need a point, x1, y1. Give me a coordinate point, and now it's point and slope, so I need the m, which is the rise over run, the slope of the line. So now we need a point and a line. Previously on 3.3 we needed the slope and the y-intercept. Now we need just a point on the line and the slope. Alright, so let's take a look at the form of point slope form of a line. We have here the equation. This equation was given to you and will be given to you, and we created a little flashcard in class. So the form of a point slope, the equation for a line always has this extra point here we need. This is the value you will be replacing, and this is the value you'll be replacing. So you always have an x1 and a y1 given to you, or you identify it from a graph. So I always have that point to plug in here. This is the only thing I'll change in the equation in terms of x and y. And then we have the slope. This is something that we also replace in the equation, okay? So there are three things to be replaced in this equation. Is the point x and y and the slope. This other y value stays in the equation, and this other x values stay in the equation. Also, we need to pay attention to the negative. This negative is part of the equation, all right? It's part of our equation of a line. So this needs to be used, because if you give me a negative value to plug in here, I'll have a negative times a negative, which will become positive. So you need to be careful with that. I always tell you, remember that a negative times a negative becomes positive. It's something we have to remember all the time, okay? So let's go ahead and see how, if the information is given to us, how do we write this equation right here? So like I said, is y minus, then I need my y1. I already labeled it here for myself. Here's x1, here's y1. So I just grab the y1, which is the number 1, and I plug it in here. Equals, the slope is m, and m is given to us as the number 2. So I'm going to replace it with the number 2, open the parenthesis, keep the x value, subtracting. Now I need the x1 value, which is my 2. And there we go. I just wrote the equation of a line in point and slope form. Okay? So again, as you replace, it's just the x and the y value and the slope value. That's the only thing you replace. Alright, let's do it one more time. This time I'm going to use this idea of negative times negative becomes positive. So let's take a look at it. So I am going to write the equation y minus, I'm going to leave it blank, equals blank times x minus blank. Alright, so there you go. I left everything that I need to replace. I left what I don't need to replace, and I left a blank where I need to replace. So here's my x and y value. X comes first, I'm going to call it x1, and y1 is the values that come for a second here. So I have a x1 and a y1. The y1 goes over here, but I have a negative 2, okay? And then the x1 comes in here, but I have a negative 1, so I need to put that in parentheses. And then my slope is negative 1/2. Alright, so I replaced everything that needed to be replaced, and this looks beautiful. But we don't accept this kind of values right here, negative times a negative. You need to clean up. And it's this knowledge that I talked to you just a second about it, that a negative times a negative becomes positive. So let's take a look at it and let's clean it up. Y, a negative times a negative becomes positive 2, equals my negative 1/2 slope does not change, parenthesis, x, a negative times a negative becomes a positive 1. And there we go. We wrote the equation. As you can see, the students quickly picked up on an idea, a pattern. In mathematics, it's all about pattern. They said, if you give me negative values, I write positive values. Yes, that is true. And he said, if you give me positive values, it ends up looking like negative values. Yes, that is true. Because the reason is because of this negative times negative. Okay? So that's all it is. So there we go. If the information is given, we can write in the formula, okay? Now let's take a look at our homework. I will do a few of the questions in your homework for you so you can see if you're doing it correctly. So here it says, write an equation in point-slope form of the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. So they are giving us, this is given information, okay? So they are giving us a point, -2, -1, and they're giving us the slope of -3. I like to label things first. My slope is already labeled. Let me zoom this a little bit more. There we go. Yikes, that's big. There we go. So the slope is already labeled, but I like to label this so I don't get confused of where they belong. This is my x value. I'm going to call it the x1. And this is my y value. I'm going to call it my y1. I know the equation of a line in point-slope form is y minus equals the slope times x minus and a value. All right? Now I can just come and write it down. My x1 is -2, but a negative times this negative is going to become a +2. And then my y value is -1, but when I have a negative times this negative, it's going to become +1. And then I have my -3 slope, which it goes right here, and we're done. Okay, so as you can see, there was 2 negative numbers, it became 2 positive values here because of the negative times the negative. All right, I'm pretty sure you can do this other two, and you can finish writing the equation of a line. Now here they give us graph each equation. You need to be able to go back and forth on this. If I see a -4 here, it's because I plugged in a +4. So I'm going to make my little point over here that I need to see. The y is a 4, and the x is a +2. Just like in this case, it became a +2, it must have been a -2 to start with. So we have the point -2, +4. I'm going to go to -2, +4. So here's -2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my starting point. That's how I'm going to start my line. The rest is just determined by the slope. M equals is the number right in front of the parenthesis. It's -1. Most students like to see the rise over the run or the drop over the run. So I'm going to write it as a fraction. And here we go. You drop 1, run 1 for your next point. You drop 1, run 1, and you can keep on going as far as you want. Some people like to do quite a few. So there we go. Now I just connect this because it's a linear function. We connect the dots. We put arrows at the end to indicate that's going forever. And there we go. Okay, so going back and forth from plugging it in, but also identifying how to take it out is important for us to be able to graph it. Okay, let's do one more time where we are given the information, graph the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. Everything here is given. So here's the point. They gave it to us. We didn't have to extract it from the equation. So because it's given, I'm going to go straight to where it is. -1, which is right here, and then drop 3. Drop 1, 2, 3. That's the point in -1, -3, right there. And that is my starting point, okay? So the -1, -3 is my starting point. Okay, that's where I'm going to start my line from. And then all I have to do is use the slope. Up to run 1. Some students like to write the denominator of 1. I'm okay with that. So up to over 1 gives me this point right here. And then I do it again. Up 2 more over 1. Up 2 more over 1. And that's enough. Okay. When you have 3, 4 points, you can see where the line is going. And you connect these dots. Okay. There's many points that we could be doing. As a matter of fact, there's infinitely many. Okay, I could do so many forever and I would still get my line. So there we go. You get the starting point was given, the slope, how to get to the next point was also given, so you just keep going from there. Okay? So let's do one more. These are open-ended on the bottom of here, so I'm going to let you explore this. You can totally show it to me in class and we can see if we're doing it right. Let's go to number 9 here. Number 9, they gave us -2, 6. So we're going to go to the left, -2, -1, -2, but we're going to go up 6. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is off the chart a little bit, so I'm going to put it right there. But it says -1 over 2. So -1 over 2, that means I'm drop and then run, okay? So I'm going to drop 1, run 1, drop 1, run 1, drop 1, run 1, and you can do this as many times as you feel like, and there you go. You have your line. Even though we start a little bit off the grid, we end up getting on the grid here, and there we go, okay? So our line goes forever. Okay, so let's see what we have here in the back so we can finish this worksheet. Let's do write an equation in point slope form for each line. So now I want to write an equation. To write an equation, we have the y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. That's the equation, okay? You have a little flashcard for that. So I need to identify one point, and I can pick any point I want. I really don't care. If you want to pick this point, that's okay. Some people want to pick this point, some people want to pick this one. It really doesn't matter which point you pick. It will, as long as it's a point on the line. I like a positive value, so I'm going to deal with 2, 2. I picked 2, 2. It really doesn't matter if you picked 0, 2. And it really doesn't matter if you pick -2, 0. All of these three would be fine. And it would be hard to pick in a half, like a half over here, -1, half, or 1, 1.5. Those are kind of hard, but it's still okay as well. So any of these three values would be okay to be plugged in here. But the slope has to be the same. As you can see from here, I count up 1. That means my slope is up 1. And I run 2. Run 2. Let's check it one more time. Up 1, run 2. Yep, it works. Up 1, run 2. Yep, it works. So as you can see, the slope is the same and is constant throughout the entire line. That's the beauty of the slope, is a constant rate. Is a constant rate. Okay? So I have the slope. I have any point here that you would like to pick to create your line. I'm going to go with the positive one. So y minus, the y here is a 2, equals my slope of 1/2 times x minus, my x value is also a 2. So there we go. Okay, positive 2 and positive 2 here looks like -2's here, but that is the beauty of this equation. Okay, so there we go. So now you know how to go back and forth from graphs to equations, from equations to graphs, from given information and so forth. All right? And I hope you can go ahead and finish this worksheet. Over here on questions 16 through 19, you will need to use the slope formula. Okay? The slope formula is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Once you find the slope, you can use any point you want to create the equation of a line. You can pick 5, 1, or you can pick 0, 2. So it's always going to be the same process. Find the slope first with the given points, and then pick one of them for your equation. Okay? So good luck on this worksheet. Let me know if you have questions. Please attend Math Lab on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays right after school with Mr. Dittman. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.